crisis!
Happy Christmas. It's Christmas.
I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite fragrances to wear in the wintertime of the niche variety. It's getting chilly for most of the world.
Although I'm currently getting a nice tan in Australia.
When we talk about niche fragrances, we usually mean really expensive fragrances that are only available to a select few people. They're usually more creative, a bit more different. A niche fragrance house typically only makes fragrances as well, but there are sometimes small exceptions to the rule. My two honorable mentions on this list are from the house of Tom Ford, Tobacco Oud, and Tuscan Leather. I'm just letting you know that these two would be very high on this list, but to a lot of people, they aren't technically niche fragrances, even though with the new price increase, these guys are a lot more expensive than many niche fragrances out there. But just to be fair to the niche snobs out there that assert that these aren't niche fragrances, I respect that, and I'll keep them as honorable mentions. What a buzzkill! Alright, let's get into this list. At number 10, by Guerlain, Tonka Imperial. Tonka Imperial is my favorite tonka bean-based fragrance. I have talked about it before in a tonka battle with a certain other tonka fragrance. It uses the Guerlain type of tonka bean and a little bit of that amaretto style of almond that you see in the L'Homme Ideal line. What's awesome about Tonka Imperial is it's very non-linear. It's a little more low-key so you can wear it in multiple conditions, but it suits the cold weather very, very well. And it almost gets a little bit boozy as it dries down, which is an interesting nuance. The reason I have it at number 10 is because Tonka Imperial is a bit more cash, a little more of an indoor vibe, but beautiful nonetheless. Number 10, T.I. At number 9, we have Grand Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Another fairly low-key fragrance. Not something that's going to project like a monster, but for indoors in the winter, Grand Soir is one of my go-to picks. It is a beautiful amber-based fragrance, and to a lot of people, it is the best use of amber. If you don't really know what amber smells like, I don't blame you, because it's not like you can just go to your supermarket and get a pound of amber, but the quality it gives you is a sweet, warm, almost buttery smell. Grand Soir and amber dominant fragrances in general are some of my favorite fragrances to wear to bed. It has a cozy feel, and you definitely want to be cozy in the wintertime. That being said, it's only number 9 because even though I like wearing this in the winter, there's nothing really that wintry about it. There's no notes that scream winter to me, even though it's still a solid pick for the winter. Number 9, Grand Soir. At number 8, from the house of Serge Lutens, is Fille en Aiguille. This fragrance is just so cool. It's a little bit smoky with the use of incense, but to me, it is pure Christmas tree. I'm a big fan of green fragrances, especially ones that are more of the coniferous variety, because I'm a Canadian. Okay? I'm a rugged, lumberjack-looking dude, minus the slightly douchey hats, and the perhaps, at times, effeminate mannerisms. But that being said, I just appreciate pine-smelling fragrances. And Serge Lutens' Fille en Aiguille is one of the best representations of it. The only reason it's at number 8 is simply because it's the perfect fragrance for Christmas Day, but that's about it. For every other day of the year, but it's definitely worth having at least a decant of, just for the novelty of it. Number 8, Fille en Aiguille. At number 7, Cape Heartache from Imaginary Authors. Now this is a green pine fragrance that is a little more nuanced, a little more interesting, perhaps a little more versatile. What's lovely about this is it's not just a cold weather green fragrance. It takes away some of the smokiness and some of the extra woodiness and adds in a little bit of vanilla. More importantly though, it adds strawberry. What an amazingly creative addition to this type of fragrance. Sometimes with indie and artisan perfumery, you can sometimes feel that a composition was just a bit of a shot in the dark and they were just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But with this one, there's clear care that went into this fragrance. It is definitely my favorite fragrance from this entire house because I love green fragrances, I like woody fragrances, and who doesn't love strawberries, guys? Bruh. The only reason it's not higher on this list is because sometimes the strawberry note can overpower the rest of the fragrance, especially if you're indoors. Outdoors, totally different story. Incredible stuff. But just be a bit mindful when you're wearing this in close quarters, especially if you're just looking for a more traditional green fragrance. Number 7, Cape Heartache. At number 6, my favorite oud rose fragrance, Oud Palau by Diptyque.
Oh, hell no.
Smells a lot like Oud Ispahan from Dior, but it is more masculine. It has less of an intense rose, it's a little more animalic, and it has a wonderful dry down that contains tobacco and even a little bit of booziness. Really suits men very, very well, and has one of my favorite dry downs, not only in oud and rose fragrances, but in all fragrances. Diptyque is a house that you should really check out. They make some awesome stuff for men and women. Pro tip for the guys out there, you may just want to stick to the black rim / cap bottles because they're the eau de parfum concentrations and they tend to work better on my skin as a man.
Wow.
The only reason it's not in the top 5 is because it still is an oud rose combination, and I'm looking to be a little more creative and expressive in the winter months because you can afford to do so then. At number 6, Oud Palau. At number 5, from the house of Xerjoff, Alexandria 2. Now this isn't just niche, this is niche. I don't have very many niche fragrances, but this one I just had to get. Alexandria 2 is quite simply the strongest fragrance in my collection. It has a monstrous dose of lavender, some semi-sweet oud that isn't stanky but very, very strong, and there's also some sandalwood that rounds it out too. The fragrance lingers on and on and on well over 24 hours. It is something that you really have to scrub a layer of skin off to get off.
Oh, hell no.
But what's nice about it is even in the winter, you'll never need more than one spray. But that being said, it is a breathtaking fragrance when used correctly, and it's one that I was willing to spend quite a bit of money just to have. But the reason it's number 5 is because it's so strong, it's really hard to use. The first 6 hours of this fragrance is wearing better be outdoors, because otherwise it'll be way too much. At number 5, Alexandria 2. My number 4 niche fragrance for the winter is Interlude Man, speaking of strong fragrances. Now, even though this is the Blue Beast, I say this is a little more wearable than Alexandria 2, for example. It is extremely strong and lasts a very long time, but it's strong with notes of incense and myrrh, which are dominant notes that are a little less dominant than some of the woody notes in the Oud Stars line of Xerjoff. Sure, there's some woodiness in here as well, even a bit of oud, but it's a lot more comforting of a fragrance than you might initially expect, especially in the winter. Any hard and rough edges you may experience in the first couple hours, the cool air will keep them in check. Just like Alexandria 2 though, this is an outdoor fragrance for the first couple hours, but then once it dries down, it's a completely different story. The dry down on this is beautiful, it's comforting, it's sexy, it's alluring, and it just makes you feel nice and cozy, which is very, very important. The reason it's number 4 is because the top 3 are bangers. And that was Interlude Man at number 4. My number 3 niche fragrance for the winter is Spiritus Double Vanille by Guerlain. This is quite possibly one of the greatest vanilla fragrances ever made. What makes it so wonderful in the winter is the fact that it has a slightly boozy quality to it, and it really is a darker and slightly smoky vanilla. It's sweet enough to cut through the cold air. It has that coziness with that rich smokiness and booziness, and it's just overall blended so nicely. While personally I gravitate towards vanilla fragrances that have a citrus quality which gives it more versatility year-round, for the winter time, there's no doubt about it, this is the best vanilla choice you can get. The only reason I have it at number 3 is because this is a very unisex fragrance, and a lot of people will say it leans feminine. I tend to feel that the dark vanilla quality does make it very wearable for men, but it may not be for every guy. At number 3, Spiritus Double Vanille. Number 2, yeah, we got Creed's Original Santal. You guys know I love unoriginal Santal. Me and this guy, we got history. This bottle is a 2008 formulation and we go back like car seats, I tell ya. In the cold weather, Original Santal is my partner. I feel like we're a team when I wear it. It just completes me. And every time I catch whiffs of it throughout the day, and I will catch whiffs of it throughout the entire day, it tops up my morale meter. It really puts me in an amazing mood with its berry-like sweetness and its clean quality that pierces the cold like nobody's business. Although it's a composition that supposedly uses sandalwood, you would think that it works in the fall the best, and maybe it does, but I tend to only reach for it when it's cold outside, just because I like the way it reacts with the cool wind. The reason it's not number 1, however, even though I love it to death, is there is the whole elephant in the room of Individual by Montblanc. It's a lot cheaper and it smells similar, but overall, I still have to give it to this guy, even with the price factored in. At number 2, Original Santal. And my number 1 favorite niche fragrance for the winter. It also happens to be the fragrance that I wore at a winter wedding recently. Layton Exclusive by Parfums de Marly. I didn't think Layton could get any better. It is a niche fragrance with niche quality, but it's as mass appealing and likable as a mainstream designer release. However, in the really cold weather, you maybe want something a little more spicy with a little more bitterness, perhaps a little more edge. That's why this was made. Layton Exclusive is Layton, which is a fantastic fragrance, but it adds an animalistic quality to it, a little bit of oud, and a touch of coffee. It makes it very aromatic, a little bit oriental in the dry down. The fact that it starts off as pleasant as Layton but then goes in this other crazy good direction is why I love this fragrance. And I love it most of all when it's super cold outside, super miserable. Layton Exclusive is always there to save the day. My number 1 winter niche fragrance, Layton Exclusive. The winter time is your time to cozy up and cuddle with a significant other or others or by yourself. And these are fragrances that will help you do that, whether you're indoors, outdoors, whether you're a little more daring or maybe a little bit more safe. But the one thing that I must remind you all is this list has just been my opinion. You can write your opinions down in the comments if you want, but the important thing is when it comes to opinions, get your own. I feel like I'm seeing a bit of a gold is best pattern happening here, eh? He's best. You can check out more top 10s here and other videos here and here, and a subscribe button if you haven't done that and you want to subscribe. Pro tip.